Now that we finally have a new Drayano ROM hack, Pokemon Blaze Black and Volt White 2 Redux, people are clamouring to nuzlocke it, especially in challenge mode. But to many people's dismay, the early game ended up being really brutal. Statistically, most nuzlockes of this game do not make it past Burgh, the third gym leader, and many of those that do make it past him are so battered and bruised anyways and have lost so many mons that they might as well just reset anyways because the losses are just too high to get through. And this challenge all starts with the first gym leader, Cheren, the first major gatekeeper of the game. Anyone who's played the original Blaze Black or Volt White 2 will know that in that game, Gym 1 was also a major RNG gatekeeping fest. It's kind of baffling why this wasn't fixed in the Redux version, as it was the one thing that everyone complained about the originals. In this game, you need good encounters for Cheren, and you almost always need at least some amount of good luck. And many nuzlocke runs don't make it past Cheren at all. Only a minority actually make it past him deathlessly. In almost literally every single run, we'll have to dodge at least 2 critical hits from him. This video will be a strategy guide of sorts, explaining why Cheren's team is so tough and so gatekeeping, how the AI works in this fight, which is actually pretty different compared to other boss fights, and most importantly, strategies so you can beat this fight with as little losses as possible, or ideally flawlessly. I found one cheese strat in particular which makes this fight very consistent to do deathlessly, though you will need the right encounters for it, along with 1 or 2 in-game exploits that really help. If you're struggling with this fight, you can at least learn something for your own runs. So, let's begin. What makes Cheren so hard anyways? Well, he has a full team of threats, all with powerful moves of at least 60 base power, competitive items, potential coverage options, and most importantly the biggest challenge, or the biggest advantage for you if you can abuse this for yourself. His mons all spam workup. All of Cheren's mons can set up, and after a few workups, most of his attacks will be insta KOs on your mons. The wild card is how the AI works in this. If the AI sees a KO on one of your mons, it will use the appropriate move, but if it doesn't, then it will randomly choose between attacking and setup, making things very unpredictable and coin flippy. As for his Pokemon, Porygon, his lead mon, has a lot of power and can KO almost literally every single mon at this point in the game with a single workup and a critical hit, so you need to take it out ASAP before it can claim a mon. Lillipup can usually take at least 1 hit, and Retaliate puts massive pressure on you as a 140 base power stat hit will just wreak havoc. However, it's unsure if the AI actually sees boosted Retaliate as doing 140 damage, but it still presents a dilemma when facing it. Apom is actually pretty cheesable. Yes, double hit is strong, but against a neutral mon, Apom will choose to use the far weaker Water Pulse instead, as in this game the AI only calculates double hit is a single 35 base power move instead of 70, while Water Pulse is effectively 90 base power because Water Gem is calculated off of. So it decides to use a weaker move for some reason. Apom is okay to beat because of this. Doduo is pretty powerful. High attack and pluck hits hard and can rob your Oranberry. Quick attack is pretty powerful too just because of his attack stat, threatening even the electric types that you can get at this point in the game surprisingly. Deerling can be a threat due to high speed and a strong stab move that can also flinch you. Berry Juice means that even your guaranteed Pansear, the fire type, is not guaranteed to beat this 1 vs 1. And arguably the biggest threat here, his ace Pokemon Munchlax with really high attack and threatening moves in bulk that dwarfs most of the Pokemon that are available by this point in the game. It is capable of attacking hits, setting up and dealing major damage. All this, and what does the game give you to deal with this? Well, your guaranteed starter Pokemon, Oshawott, Black Ember, and the really bad one that you never use. Okay. Then you get the guaranteed elemental monkeys like Pogseer and the 2 really meh ones. Then you get a guaranteed egg with a random mon from about 15 different mons, ranging from a Smoochum, which is amazing, to a Tyrogue, which you would think is good but it's actually garbage for this gym. Then you get 3 more encounters, meaning you get 6 Pokemon in total for yourself for the split. And that's assuming that you don't lose anyone yourself to the Plasma Double Battle before Cheren. Now, I won't be covering that boss fight that much, as there is no set strategy for that. Oshawott lead can take out at least one of his mons and tank some hits in the process, so a decent strategy would be to lead up with Oshawott and your other best mon that can handle his leads as well, and just steer it from there. Fight the battle with what you have, and just try to take it as it goes. Now, more detail on the mons that you can get for Cheren. First of all, if you're nuzlocking this game, then oshawott is the current meta, and is highly recommended if you want the early game to be as smooth as possible, which is the hardest part of the game by the way. Oshawott has an amazing moveset with Razor Shell for huge damage and potential defense drop, which you can easily follow up with a priority Aqua Jet, which allows you to effectively one-shot faster threats. Also, it can learn Rock Smash at level 16, a 55 base power fighting move that always lowers defense, great for beating Cheren's Deerling. You can equip an EXP share to ensure that it hits level 16 mid-fight and learns this move, not to mention that it's got Shell Armor too, one of the best abilities in this game. This also gives you a guaranteed Fire Monkey, which is okay purely because it can sometimes counter Deerling, so it can at least do something, but you want Fire Monkey for Burgh anyways, it's really nice for that. I would recommend just peaky hacking the best possible IVs you can get on your starter oshawott, just to save the monotony of having to reset for it, kind of like rare candy hacking. For natures, I really like Impish or Relaxed Nature, both are great. Minus speed only matters against Cheren's Porygon, so that's not even a big deal. You're probably not going to use oshawott to beat that anyways. Now Tepig is definitely workable for this gym split with Adamant and Sheer Force. It can outspeed in one shot the lead Porygon with Flame Charge, which is pretty powerful. If Porygon goes for Workup, then you basically get a free KO without taking any damage. It can also just blast Deerling in one hit. Not bad. Now, something that you need to know is the challenge mode bug in this Nuzlocke in general for this game. This is a glitch in this game from the original Black and White 2 where Pokemon, despite being on challenge mode, despite their level being higher than what they were in normal mode, they will still have the same stats as if they were on the normal mode level. Here you can see Cheren's Porygon on challenge mode. It's speed tying with a Mon that has 18 speed, even though Porygon at level 13 is supposed to have 19 speed. This is because challenge mode raises Cheren's Mons levels by 1 from normal mode, meaning that his Mons have the stats as if they were 1 level lower. This is vital for doing your damage calculations, which you will definitely need to do for this run, so make sure you take that into account. As for encounters, there is Route 19, the first area that's available. The 3 clear best encounters from this area that I would recommend just resetting for are Kricketune, Starly and Patrat. Cricket is obviously excellent for this gym, being the only fully evolved Pokemon that you can get access to with powerful moves like Bug Buzz to boot in nice stats. Though only having special attacking moves means that it can't exactly sweep, however it can usually beat at least 1 to 2 of Cheren's Mons easily. Starly is also great, being another Mon that can evolve by the level cap, though resetting for Intimidate is definitely the play. Intimidate lowering the attack stat is super useful for countering setup, and its high attack and speed makes it an early game powerhouse. Now you would think that Patrat is trash, and you'd be absolutely wrong. Pograt is surprisingly decent. Headbutt and most importantly low kick makes it a big damage dealer and is capable of beating Cheren's Munchlax 1 vs 1 and potentially countering it outright, depending on what move it switches in on, which is pretty awesome. The main difference is that Starly stays relevant as the game progresses. That's what sets it apart from Kricketune and Patrat. Now, none of the other mods on this route are particularly useful for this point in the game, with the exception of maybe Pidgeot and Sentret as they can use Charm, which is a pretty useful strat for countering Workup spam. Just like in Emerald Kaizo, lowering the opponent's attack faster than they can increase it can just make the AI flip out, and turn after turn the AI will just keep trying to set up to get its attack stat back up to neutral, so you'll want to abuse this as it effectively just gives you lots of free turns to attack with. Now for Route 20, many of these mons are unfortunately not that good. Sawaddle, for example, along with Bellsprout are almost insta resets if you encounter them. Mankey is a solid mon as you would expect for this gym, but only having low kick as his fighting move, along with the fact that some of Cheren's mons like Lillipup are really lightweight, really hurts his viability here. But you can still usually KO at least one mon easily, so you definitely take it anyways. My favourite mons here for Cheren are Lombre and Nuzleaf, which are obtainable, with solid stats being evolved mons, Fake Out and pretty powerful moves. Fake Out and 65 base power Mega Drain are very nice. These mons stay useful after this gym too and have great stats for this point in the game. Pretty nice. Now for Flokesi Ranch. Many of the encounters here are very nice, so it's a pretty good chance of getting a nice mon. You would think Riolu is a nuts, but no. In this game it now only evolves at level 26. Talk about getting shafted. Azurill, Machop and Mari per great encounters, with charm abuse in bulk, fighting moves in high attack stats, and an electric type that's capable of countering Doduo. These mons will help quite nicely. But then there's Ponyta, and this right here is probably the number one best encounter you can possibly get for beating Cheren. You will see why very shortly. The final mon you can get before Gym 1 is the random egg, and this is just a straight toss up. Litwick is arguably the best hatch you can get, being useful throughout the game, especially endgame, but also being a pretty good pivot for Cheren obviously, and it completely walls out his Deerling that can only damage it with Leech Seed. Litwick usually makes the AI panic and switch out because they will know that Deerling just cannot touch a Litwick. And this just allows you to get free hits by attacking whatever comes in, and you could just keep repeating this process to get several free attacks throughout the fight. A really funny thing I noticed is that though Cupchew has a reputation in the community for being the worst egg in the garbage mon, it's actually pretty useful for Cheren surprisingly, being able to somehow 1 versus 1 the Munchlax, so definitely keep that in mind. The good thing is that it's totally fine to sack Cupchew in this fight if you need to, because it becomes pretty useless afterwards. All this strategy and matchup. Now let's put this all together and find out how you, yes you, the person watching right now as I am talking, can cheese Cheren. The two best mons that I will be focusing on for the cheese strat are Oshawott and Ponyta. These two mons alone can take out at least half of Cheren's team, and are decently likely to just win the fight by themselves. Ponyta can literally solo Cheren's entire team if his IVs are good enough with a good nature, and the AI chooses to use work up in a few turns instead of attacking. But for fair demonstration purposes, I hack in a Ponyta with neutral nature and 15 IVs in every stat, just to show you how an average pony can do, and how nice it is. For this strategy, I recommend leading Ponyta and having Oshawott in the back holding an EXP share, so it can level up mid-battle. Finally, let's get to the fight. For Porygon lead off with Ponyta, even with average IVs, Ponyta will outspeed Cheren's entire team and can 2-shot everything with double kick at least. Pretty excellent. Oshawott can 2-shot the Porygon as well if you lead with it, but it requires Razor Shell to get a defense drop, so that's not too reliable. Ponyta lead will 2-shot the Porygon even through the Chople Berry. Now, a really big factor for the rest of this fight is what Porygon does turn 1, and this will be completely RNG reliant. If it chooses to use Work Up, then you will be in a great position as you get the free KO, both of your mons gain a level, and you take out one of his mons. But if Porygon attacks, the damage will matter later on, so it could stop you from sweeping hard. Beating Porygon will always beat an Apom, and the battle will already start to get a little bit yikes. You could lose here potentially if you get hit by a Water Pulse crit and you got hit by the Porygon, but this is actually not very likely. A Muscle Band will give Ponyta a pretty good chance of one-shotting the Apom with 15 attack IVs. If Apom goes for Fake Out, it can also burn itself, just guaranteeing that Ponyta can one-shot the Apom, so you will almost always get at least 2 KOs in this battle with Ponyta. Now, Munchlax will always come in next, and this is where the strategy for the fight will start to diverge. If Ponyta can survive a Rock Tomb, then stay in and attack Munchlax with a double kick, you will almost always 2-shot it. Though it is possible to beat Munchlax 2 with your Ponyta, the probability that it can take 2 hits from it is pretty slim, along with taking no damage from the previous 2 mons. This will require the AI to use Work Up 3 turns in a row and not attack, which isn't too likely to happen, but otherwise, this is when you will switch in your Oshawott to beat the Munchlax. Ideally you want Oshawott to switch in after double kicking the Munchlax once, as Oshawott can just tank a Rock Tomb, then finish off the Lax with Razor Shell and Aqua Jet from this range. Now from here, Oshawott can solo the final 3 mons on its own. It's capable of 2-shotting all of them, so there will be RNG involved. Luckily from what I've seen, the next mon that comes in, Lilpup, seems to usually like going for Work Up instead of attacking, more so than usual. This allows Oshawott to just Razor Shell then priority Aqua Jet for the KO, defense drop isn't even required here. This is great as Oshawott will then hit level 16 after beating it, letting it learn Rock Smash, which is perfect for the upcoming Pokemon. Man, beating that stupid little pup be like,
"You're my little dog champ."
The Yearling can be beaten with 2 Rock Smashes and Aqua Jet. The Berry Juice is annoying, but if you get flinched by Headbutt, then you will probably be forced to switch and will not be able to sweep with Oshawott. It really depends on how much HP Oshawott has left. But if it doesn't flinch or use Work Up, then you could just beat this as well, leaving only the final Mon. Now, if you have enough HP to take one hit from Doduo, simply Razor Shell and Aqua Jet will be enough to KO it. And this is how you beat Cheren, with just an average Ponyta and an Oshawott. If you're super lucky and get a really pog Ponyta, then you don't even need the Oshawott. Good lord, calm down Ponyta, stop! Now, how effective is this strategy? Well, the majority of my testing attempts with only these 2 mons didn't always clear Cheren. I'm almost always guaranteed at least 3 kills on this team, so worst case scenario, these 2 will just take out Cheren's biggest threats on their own. Pretty good strat, I guess. But the best thing is, you do get to bring like 4 other mons yourself, right? So even if you only manage to KO 4 mons with Ponyta and Oshawott, you have 4 other mons yourself to gank his final 2, making the fight ridiculously easier to beat. So this pretty much concludes the strat video. Hopefully you've learned something and can claw your way out of Cherentory that much less painfully. Yeah, this is kind of a new video for me, and there's many more hard boss battles in this game that people really struggle with, so let me know what you thought of the video. If you want to see more guides and what bosses to cover next, probably the rest of Purgatory. So yeah, show some love, like, comment, subscribe, send your bank account details in the comment section, and see you all next time. Goodbye.